Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Avinaya Tripathi, a PhD student at Arizona State University, working under the supervision of Professor Narayan Nethalat. And today, my major focus of research is concrete 3D printing, and today I'm gonna talk about digital image correlation, use of DIC in buildability, failure prediction. Some of you who might have been in a 3D printing session Sunday might have seen this. Majorly, I can't talk about DIC directly without talking about the theory behind it, so I'd have to go back again about all the theoretical models that I talked last time. So in general, 3D printing, I believe most people have now started learning about 3D printing, knowing that there's a method called 3D printing. So in general, when I put it in general, I think it as like creating a structure through machine by giving it the coordinates and volume of amount required at play, those coordinates. So it's basically giving that and getting the structure out of it. There are plenty of different methods of printing. Infusion bed should create everything. There are like plenty of those, but the measure that we have in concrete 3D printing is layer-wise extrusion, where each individual filaments are extruded side by side on top of each other to create a whole structure. So why is buildability required? So when we talk about concrete printing, so the advantages are quickness, the ease of architectural freedom and all those things. But how can you be quick if we don't know how high we can build at a particular point of time? So being able to correctly predict those, predict the failure modes, enable us to have that time advantage that we talk about in printing. So there are different models that have tried to predict buildability based on rheological parameters, mechanical test parameters. So in those literatures, what we usually see is like an initial print single print verification. So what we wanted to do was verify it over an open period time. So when I say open time, it's like the time that the mortar will be printable. So why is this important? Because when you print, usually the mix is just, our extruder might be just rotating the mix. So the parameters that the mechanical characteristic that it gains is not always the same just based on the initial test results. So it's, the structuration keeps breaking in the matrix. So you have to be able to characterize it in that term. So we went with all the, some of the models that were there in literature, and the major thing we observed is like it over predicted. And everybody talks about over prediction in terms that it's a casted cylinder, so that's why it's over predicting. So what we did again was we printed cylinders and we tested those cylinders and tried to predict it. I don't have those results here as such, but again, there it was a major under prediction when we used a printed sample. So why is it so? The question came up. So when you observe like a mechanical test stress strain graph, we see that for fresh concrete, we usually call this region as elastic. So when we say elastic, it should, when we remove the load, it should be able to go to its initial state. But seeing the strain here, we are sure that a 15% strain can't be retained back by the concrete. So the question came up, is there an elastic response for the green concrete? What we did was we casted some cylinders, proper casting was required, so we tried in a casted cylinder and saw if the stress strain graph did show elastic response or not. And we did see a very small strain range elastic response, but there was an elastic response. And then it was followed by a strain hardening plastic kind of response. So now, as now the overall mechanical response itself changes, now we need to develop a theoretical model to be able to predict numerically also what the failure height is. So in this model now, a printed system will be composite system where you keep on building filaments. Here in this example, we are assuming that the elastic yield stress is reached when there are 5 filaments above a certain filament. So now, when you start building a structure, the element remain on an elastic response regime till at a point there are enough filaments on top of the lowest filament that the lower filaments start to go into plastic response. And as it keeps on building till failure, there are some filaments on the lowest region that will be in plastic response, while some on the top will be on elastic response. So now we assumed how the system will be, but what do we need in the theoretical model now? For us, from the previous graph, we saw a bilinear response, so now we'll require a elastic yield stress, a plastic yield stress, elastic modulus, and a plastic modulus. From the print system, as it's a filament by filament layer extrusion system, and the whole model is based on the stress growth on the bottommost filament, we'll need the stress growth that might happen for a certain material. So for that, we'll need the density and the height of the individual filaments, and we keep on adding those as the filament grows to see what stress the lowest filament is on. And we'll need obviously a theoretical model to be able to numerically say, okay, we have this parameter, we input it into this equation, we get this failure number out of it. So for the verification of the model, as it was a new concept, we had to develop the theoretical equations. We had not develop, but again, take some theoretical equations that are existing in the literature, use the material parameters that we obtain from our test, verify the test with some actual experimental print results. For that, we printed a wall element and a hollow cylinder element. And finally, the print will only validate our failure height. But we needed to verify that the failure type, a material failure or a structural failure that we are assuming from our equation is correct. So for that, we could say like, oh, we saw with our naked eyes that, okay, the filament is squeezed. Oh, it's a material failure. But again, you can't quantify it in front of others, right? You can't say, oh, I saw this. So for that reason, we use DIC in wall elements to verify the failure type that we had. For, again, being a new model, more types of section, more types of mortars needed to be verified. So we had like 4 different mortars with some in the stiffer range, while some were on the softer range, which could not build that much of height. So for mechanical characterization, I talked about using a printed cylinder before. So we initially started with it and added some more steps to getting the cylinder itself. Like it required to be a complicated process because you will miss the elastic response if we didn't go through this process. There might be a better procedure that might come in future, but again, this is the best we could for our purpose. So what we did was we printed a cuboid in which we inserted a steel pipe cylinder, 2x4 inch cylinder. And once inserted, we removed the outside printed material and we smoothened the top surface. We removed carefully the top surface so that the top surface is smooth. And we put a right angle, 90-degree angle such that the cylinder remains vertical when it's taken out of the mold. And we put a glass plate on top of it such that to see like the whole cylinder is loaded. This is important because the elastic response, this is a stress strain response that we got after the test. It's a representative one of the mix. And the elastic response you see here is very small. The stiffness you can see is high initially, but too small. So if the proper preparation is not done, you will most probably see a combined effect here. You will see slight higher stiffness, but you will most probably take it as a plastic response. So it's linear elastic material. So that was important. Second thing that was important was now plastic yield stress. What is plastic yield stress? You could keep on loading the cylinder. It's an engineering stress strain graph. So for engineering stress strain graph, we saw that it kept on increasing. So we needed a point at which we could say, okay, this most probably is the plastic yield. For that, we did a modulus check. So basically a slope check where wherever the modulus started drastically dropping was our plastic yield stress. As I said before, we did 2 section prints for verification. So being a wall segment and a hollow cylinder just extruded in the 3D space. The top shows a representative result for wall section on the left and a hollow cylinder section on the right. So the blue line indicates a plastic failure prediction from the numerical model. And the red and the black line are a structural stability failure, basically buckling, or you could call it crippling. And the green dots that you see there are the experimental results. So each predictions are made based on 30-minute test from the mix time. So first prediction made at 30 minutes from the mix, 1 hour, 1.5, and 2 hours, while the prints were done each 15 minutes. This was basically to make sure that we did printing side by side the testing. So it required a continuous agitation of the same kind so that the parameters will not go off. We have the exact parameters that we have in the print. So we can see that the predictions are quite close for the wall segment, while it's close for the cylinder section too. So for all the 4 mixes that we did, we calculated the absolute error that we got throughout the open time. And you can see like the absolute error max we got was around 15%. So initially when I said the different models that we had before, if we had used that, we were in the range of 50-60% absolute error. So this is quite significant improvement on that. Now, after this, okay, we did verify the failure height. Now we have to verify the failure type. We could say it's a buckling failure initially, plastic failure for the wall initially, and then it goes into a buckling or a structural failure mode. But how do you know that? So for that, we use DIC. So again, this was something that had not been used before, so we improvised our own way of doing it. It could be bettered, obviously. So what we did was we printed 4 initial layers of wall, stopped the print for a fraction of a second, like 20-30 seconds will be the time, I guess. And we speckled white paint over the printed segment to enable DIC use. So once the speckle was put there, we resumed the print till failure occurred. So with all that, so we tracked vertical deflections on each layer with the images that we captured. So when we saw the vertical strain capture with print time, we could see that at a certain point of time, there's a slow increase of vertical strain, and the vertical strain starts increasing rapidly. There are 2 types of increase in that process also. One, there will be a positive change in strain rate, while another, there will be a negative kind of change in strain rate. So why does that happen? So if it's a material failure, the upper layer try to collapse the lower layer, resulting on a higher vertical strain coming up when there's a plastic material failure. But if it's a structural failure, the top surface will try to topple away from the print plane. So that causes the filament to be slightly pulled outward, resulting on a negative kind of slope, indicating that the filament is being pulled out of plane. So those were the 2 things we could see. And another thing we could observe from the vertical strain graph is failure occurred somewhere way beyond the place where the strain rate starts changing. So we could see that from the vertical strain rate capture from the DIC, we could most probably identify that the structure is going to fail even before the structure fails itself. So this was an added advantage, and we termed it as a failure initiation height, while this will be a failure height. When we have a 1-to-1 correlation between the failure initiation height and actual visual failure height, we could see that if we had a stiffer kind of mix, the failure initiation height was way before the actual failure height. So basically, if we could use DIC in side-by-side actual print, we could most probably make prediction even without making a numerical prediction, without even doing a mechanical testing that, oh, okay, now my vertical strain rates are going in this direction, means most probably my structure is about to fail. I should have stopped my print right now. So that would be an added advantage of the initiation height that we observed in DIC. So just for the view of it, like the top 3 figures shows a plastic failure response. It was captured for a plastic failure type. So initial picture shows the vertical strain being very high on the lower filament because of the print head nozzle. But once the enough layers are built, we can't see that strain concentration on those layers. So we can see, if you see the numbers, it's just slightly 2-3 seconds before the failure and just at the frame of failure. We can see the vertical strain are in the range of 0.2 to 1.4. So there's a kind of 6-7 folds failure strain increase within like few seconds of it, which obviously indicates that the section where the vertical strain increased rapidly, it just fell through plastic collapse. In a buckling kind of failure, you can't see those concentrations. There is like less vertical strain on the elements with no concentration points. So this could most probably, what this whole procedure shows is, we were able to develop a theoretical prediction model. We were able to verify it, but DIC most probably verified us if it's a plastic collapse or a crippling. So we could separate those, and in printing also we could correlate them with exactly the same estimation from the numerical model. So DIC helped us quantify that, okay, the type of failure that we assumed from our model was the type of failure that we saw. So what would be the advantage of it? The initiation height could be taken as advantage. If we develop a inline DIC analysis procedure and use it in printing, we don't have to go through the rigorous process of characterizing the material in terms of failure height. We could most probably use DIC, and at the point of the higher change in vertical strain rate, we can say that, okay, most probably my structure is about to collapse. This is the point I should stop. I should not go beyond this, because this will most probably induce more damage to my structure, and the structure might fail, I might have to reprint. So with that, I would like to acknowledge NSF for funding the project, US Department of Energy, and my senior, Dr. Suraj Nair, who has been a constant motivation for all the works that I have done. So, any questions?